Hi, I'm Rob Boyles. I'm here at Follenbray with Track Dudes for a weekend of fun in the Champagne region of France. I also work with MSV Track Days, so I spend a lot of my time on track, and I've built this Suzuki GSX-R750 specifically for instructing on track, not just a track bike, but actually for instructing. You may have spotted it's got mirrors, absolutely essential for coaching. So the first thing I do building a track bike is suspension. That's the most important thing for me. Obviously, it improves the handling, but it also gives you great tyre wear. So over a season of track days or racing, it's going to save you money in tyres. It'll pay for itself pretty much. My choice for the last few years, I stopped racing in 2010, but ever since then, I was helped by K-Tech. Since then, that's my go-to now. So I know exactly how they're going to work. I know exactly how to set it up. It works phenomenally well. It's easily serviceable. So I've gone for the RDS fork kit, which is actually the bottom of the range fork kit, cartridge kit, but still plenty good enough right up to British Championship level. In the back, I've gone for the DDS Pro rear shock, sprung for my weight. K-Tech take care of everything. You tell them what you weigh, you tell them what the bike is, the parts arrive, you just bolt them in. And from there on, it's a few small adjustments. So totally worth doing, and the first thing I would do to any track bike. Of course, being a track bike, I don't want a headlight. I've still got a horn, quite cheeky, let people know that they're not behaving on a track day. But yeah, you want rid of the headlight, you want rid of the indicators, all those bits. Obviously, I keep the mirrors, as I've mentioned earlier, so I can see what's happening behind me. But we've gone for a pro fiber fairing. From experience, they just fit. You can spend hours, days of swearing at plastics that don't really fit very well and never be happy. With Pro Fiber, I've always found that they just bolt on, a few cuts here and there, get them painted, and they last for a good few crashes as well, which is always handy. So once we'd got rid of all the road bits and pieces and put the road bodywork on, that was sent off to be painted by Jesse at Kamikaze Paint, wrapped by Levi at Max Moto Graphics. That was all sent off. I was left with a naked bike to work on. You're left then with a bit of a quandary as to how far you go, pretty much. So I went quite a long way. Yoshimura full system was, for anybody with a Suzuki, I think Yoshimura is your go-to. You have to. It's almost like a law. So Yoshimura R750, that was chosen mostly because, one, it looks great, but also noise limits in the UK and noise limits in Europe are getting worse and worse and worse. They're getting tighter and tighter. This exhaust, even without a baffle, is regularly fine through a noise test. With the baffle, even the most strict circuits, not a problem. So, plus it fits absolutely beautifully. So there wasn't really much of a decision to make when it came to the exhaust. So. The next thing, of course, you're going to do with your track bike is find the perfect riding position. So, of course, when they design a road bike, they take an average of short people, tall people, fat people, and they try and make a riding position that works for everybody. So the foot peg height to seat, the handlebar position, it's generic. So that's the kind of thing you're going to want to change. The more comfortable you are on track on your bike, the more relaxed you feel, the faster you're going to go. So to those ends, I went for Bonamici rear sets. Beautifully made, all the spares are available separately. That's through Reactive Parts. I bought those. Same with the handlebars. The standard bars were just a little bit too narrow. This is a 2015 bike. We're in 2024 now, so it's knocking on a bit. And the thinking back then was kind of narrow bars, aerodynamic, but actually I prefer a bit of leverage. If the bars are wagging, I like to have very little steering damper, more leverage on the bars, so I've gone for Bonamici bars as well, with a 0-degree offset. The feel through them is absolutely phenomenal. So the riding position, I've got absolutely dialed to my 5'9" frame. And that's, again, something I'd recommend for anybody who's serious about going quick on track, is make the bike fit you. Don't just accept what you've been given, okay? Just try different things. There's loads of stuff on the market. My personal choice, as I say, is Bonamici through Reactive. Brilliant stuff. Okay. So once you've got your riding position sorted out, you've got your footrests, you've got your handlebars set to suit you, you're happy with that, you're comfortable. You're then sort of thinking about things like your throttle. For me, I've had a few broken wrists. I don't really have great movement in my wrists, so a road throttle is often quite long, often too long for me to get full throttle easily. So I've gone for a Domino quick action throttle. Works really well. You get a choice of cams, so you can have it faster or slower, whatever you want. The fastest cam is what most people end up with. which is what we've got in there. We've also changed the standard master cylinder, the Nissin one, which is, to be fair, was really good, but I wanted it to be really, really good. So I've gone for a Brembo, an RCS19. It's got adjustable span. The lever just feels amazing, quite frankly. And with that, I've had to fit a Jet Prime switchgear to suit the throttle, because the original throttle had all the switchgear on it. So there are a few things that you'll need to kind of fiddle about with. As I've said before, you know, you can kind of go as far as you want. I could go further with this, but I do have a partner who reins me in frequently. So we're going to move on to braking now. I've mentioned before I've got a Brembo master cylinder, which was a bit of a treat, to be honest, but it does work phenomenally well, and it matches the Brembo calipers that come as standard with the GSX-R750. I'm running Morris racing fluid, which I didn't expect to be. If I was honest, I was going to run Castrol SRF, but I was told by my good friend Rob Simpson at RGS Superbike that a lot of heavier riders, I don't know why he told me that actually, but a lot of heavier riders struggling with brake fade run this Morris stuff. So we've been running it. We do a lot of stuff at Donington with MSV, and we've been here at Follenbray, two really strong braking areas, and we've had no problem at all with the brakes. So as I say, Brembo RCS19 caliper, master cylinder, sorry, with Morris fluid. We're running Hell lines, which are custom lines made by Rob at RGS Superbikes. It's like an H line that perfectly fits the yokes. This goes down to obviously the brake calipers, and then the final touch is EBC's GP Fax pads. I've ran all sorts in them, from the standard ones to Brembos to SBS. And I'm just trying these EBC ones now. And I have to say, I always thought of EBC stuff as kind of middle of the road, for the road, wouldn't consider it for a race bike. But since I've put these in, they are phenomenally good. So so that's my braking setup really. Brembo master cylinder, Morris fluid, and EBC pads in the standard Brembo calipers with Hell brake lines. So I'm going to talk about tyres now, which is arguably the most important part of your track day package. A lot of people make the mistake, in my opinion, of going straight for an out-and-out race tyre. Now, if you are going to a circuit that you know really, really well, and you are really fast, then fair enough. And you've got tyre warmers, you're going to be on the pace straight away, the tyres are going to be kept warm, then no problem. But I see it all the time, really bad cold tear on race tyres from riders who are, you know, with all due respect, not quite as fast as a racer, maybe learning their way around a circuit. It could be the start of the season, it's a bit cold. All of these things are going to add up to massive tyre wear. And with tyres costing 450 quid a set, it's kind of not that sustainable really, not in terms of the environment, but in terms of your bank balance. So what I've chosen for this year is Dunlop Sport Smart TT. So as I say, I do a lot of coaching with MSVT and with Track Dudes. So I'm in and out of the garage. I don't really have time to put the bike on tyre warmers, take it off tyre warmers and all the rest of it. So I've chosen these tyres, a lap or so, especially in the summer. They're plenty hot enough. They give a ton of feedback and feel, and they last for ages. I can't stress enough, it's ridiculous. So my advice to anybody, even a serious track dayer who's probably quite quick, is if you're going to a new circuit, fit a set of these while you learn the circuit. You'll learn the track, you don't have to worry about warmers so much, you won't get cold tear, they'll last all day. And then when you've learnt the circuit, then stick your D213s on or your KR slicks, whatever you want to do. But yeah, definitely right up to the, I would say, to the top 10% of the fast group, I can keep up on these Sport Smart TT road tyres. They are absolutely incredible. So, so yeah, definitely recommended. Another thing you're going to want to do with your track bike is to probably change the gearing, because the road gearing is often very, very tall. This is done usually for noise laws and emissions things. So bringing the gearing, shortening the gearing is quite important to get the bike performing at its best on the track. For this, I've chosen JT sprockets. I have a range between 44 teeth and 49 teeth for the rear, and between 14 and 16 teeth for the front. I've also got two of their JT power transfer chains, so I can run different lengths, because obviously if you run different sprockets, you can end up with a different wheelbase, so you need different chains, a longer one and a shorter one, so you can have the bike balanced as you like it, but with different gearing. So yeah, for gearing, JT sprockets and power transfer chains, been absolutely brilliant all season. But finally, I've built this lovely bike, and I really want to look after it. I don't like falling off anymore. That's something I used to do when I was a racer. It can still happen though. So, you know, with that in mind, I fit GB Racing protection to the engine and also a brake lever guard. I will be fitting their bullet sliders at some point as well. But to be honest, I want to make them bespoke to fit this bike, which is a service they provide. I've just not got around to doing that yet. But yeah, GB Racing, it's what they use in World Superbike, British Superbike and Moto 2. So if it's good enough for them, it's definitely good enough for me. One of the things when you're building a bike, when you go through it, you take all the fairing off, you strip it all back, you will find some manky bolts. Unless you've bought yourself a brand new motorbike, if you've bought anything that's been ridden on the road, some of it is going to look, quite frankly, disgusting. So there has been a little bit of money spent, extra to the budget, if I'm totally honest, on a lot of pro bolt stuff. So things like sprocket nuts, they often look terrible. I've got nice shiny sprocket nuts, all the fork pinch bolts, the caliper bolts. Any bolt I saw that didn't really please my eye was replaced with something from Pro Bolt, and they've got a huge range, really easy to use website, and yeah, it will help you to spend your money, so and make your bike look great. So yeah, Pro Bolt all the way, yeah, to make it look nice and shiny. So engine-wise, one of the great things about the GSX-R750 is it's essentially a pre-tuned super sport bike. So it's exactly the same chassis as a GSX-R600, except it's got a 750 engine, putting out this one just shy of 140 horsepower, which is generally a decent super sport bike, but without all the fragile, the fragility of tuning. So basically, the bog standard engine. I've got a K&N air filter in it to make it breathe a little bit better, and we've done a little bit of mapping with it. RJS Superbike have done some mapping with it, just to make it that little bit crisper and to make sure there's no lean spots that could cause any damage. To protect the engine further, I use rock oil. I've used rock oil since I've been racing. In fact, I've used it since I was a kid riding trials. Brilliant firm, British brand, massive range of products. They supply everything for me, from cleaning to basically stopping my engine from blowing up. So yeah, and that's done regularly. I'll probably do it every 1,500 miles, I would say, even perhaps possibly less with track use. Yeah, it gets regular oil changes, far more than you would with your road bike. I use XRP Synthesis 1040. 1040 is recommended by Suzuki. You can get a 530, which will give you a couple of horsepower, but then you're into more regular oil changes, and I'm not racing it. So I'm after longevity, and I know that the rock oil products will, you know, make my bike last. So there you have it. That's my track bike. I bought this bike, I'll be quite transparent, from a trader friend of mine for £4,700. Damaged fairings where it had been dropped a couple of times, not at speed, just walking it around in the garage or maybe at the lights. A little bit of damage. The bodywork's all gone now. Race fairings on it. Totally ready for the track. To be fair, this would be competitive at any club race or endurance race, and it's cost me just under £10,000 all in to build it, which I think is a bit of a bargain in this day and age. So yeah, super happy with it. We've been running it since March this year. From at Guadix, we've done a full season with MSV, and we're going to be back to Seville with Track Dudes in November. So yeah, I'm sure it'll be a work in progress because we all know what we like with bikes, but for now, super happy with what I've managed to achieve for under £10,000.